Welcome back, coders, to part 78 of our 100-part CPC exam series. Let's just dive right into this explainer. But hey, before we unlock today's high-yield secrets, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Decode Healthcare with Harshal. Today, we're tackling Evaluation and Management Guidelines Part 4. And let me tell you, we have some absolute must-know rules that will literally make or break your exam score.
So here's our syllabus for today's clinical coding masterclass. First, inpatient and observation care, then a consultations masterclass, followed by emergency department rules and nursing and home services. And we'll wrap the whole shebang up with an exam cheat sheet. All right, Section 1, Inpatient and Observation Care, codes 99221 to 99239. The absolute most crucial reminder here for your modern coding guidelines is that CPT actually went ahead and completely merged the rules for inpatient and observation care. So the codes are basically broken down chronologically. You've got your initial care codes, 99221 through 99223, and then your per day subsequent care codes, 99231 through 99233. But listen closely because the major exam point here is for the same date admission and discharge codes. That's 99234 through 99236. If you're going to report these single codes for a patient who's admitted and discharged on the exact same calendar date, the documentation absolutely has to prove a strict minimum 8-hour stay. Lock that number in your head right now. 8 hours. And, speaking of numbers, you really need to watch out for this time-based exam trap when it comes to discharge services. So when a patient is discharged on a different calendar date, you have to choose between code 99238 and 99239, based purely on time. It's pretty straightforward, but easy to mess up. If the discharge took 30 minutes or less, it's 99238. If it took more than 30 minutes, you're looking at 99239. Do not mix those up on test day, okay?
Moving right along to Section 2, Consultations Masterclass, codes 99242 to 99255. This right here is a huge area where coders just bleed easy exam points, mostly because they kind of misunderstand what a consultation actually is. So let's define it exactly as the coding world sees it. Basically, a consultation is a service provided by a physician whose opinion or advice regarding the evaluation or management of a specific problem is requested by another physician or another appropriate source. The absolute key word you need to circle here is requested opinion. If it's just a routine transfer of care, nope, not a consult. To easily memorize the requirements, always look for the mandatory 3 R's of consultations. Number 1, a written request that is actually documented in the medical record. Number 2, a specific reason or clinical purpose clearly stated. And number 3, a written report sent back to the requesting provider. It's a strict rule. If even a single one of these 3 R's is missing from the documentation, there is no way you can bill it as a consultation. It really is that simple. But wait a second. What happens if the scenario suddenly tells you the payer is Medicare? Oh man, this is a massive exam trap that you absolutely must be prepared for.
Here is the trap revealed. Medicare straight up does not accept consultation codes anymore. Under the Medicare non-coverage rule, you have to substitute those consultation codes with standard, new, or established office codes. That's 99202 through 99215, or initial hospital care codes, 99221 through 99223. Always check who the payer is in the question. All right, Section 3, Emergency Department Services, codes 99281 to 99285. The fast-paced nature of the ED completely changes the E&M coding rules. Let's look at the ED core rules real quick. First up, the foundational facility requirement. The care has to be provided in an emergency department that is open 24 hours a day for unscheduled care. Second, and this is a big one, the whole concept of new versus established patients, that just doesn't exist in the ED. Everyone is treated under the exact same code family. Now listen to this one carefully. Time cannot be used for ED code selection. Unlike your standard office visits, ED codes are driven strictly by the medical decision-making, or MDM level. And you might be wondering why. Well, it's because ED care involves episodic, overlapping interactions with multiple staff and physicians. The clock does not dictate the code here at all. Only the complexity of the medical decision-making does. Let's look at Section 4, Nursing and Home Services. For care that's provided outside your standard hospital walls, nursing facilities services span from 99304 to 99318, split between initial and subsequent care.
Then you have home or residence services, ranging from 99341 to 99350, which covers private homes, assisted living, or group homes. Just remember, level selection for these specific categories relies on MDM or total time, exactly like your standard office visits.
Almost done. Section 5, Summary and Exam Cheat Sheet.
We've covered a ton of ground today, so get your screenshot buttons ready. Let's lock in those absolute highest yield facts. Remember, inpatient and observation guidelines are now totally merged. Same-date admission and discharge absolutely require a minimum 8-hour stay. Consultations mandate the 3 R's: request, reason, report, and definitely beware of that Medicare trap we talked about. And finally, emergency department code selection relies only on MDM, never on time.
Well, that brings us to the end of this explainer. Coming up in Part 79, we are hosting a CPC exam practice masterclass, where we're going to dive deep into high-yield EM scenarios, time versus MDM decision trees, and some really tricky common exam traps. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Based on the core rules we decoded today, are you truly ready to dissect complex real-world exam scenarios under pressure? See you in the next one.